Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the nerd on the street, and today we're going to have some fun with some HP Pavilion 2500 laptops. Alright guys, right at the start of the video, I want to mention that this is not going to be a super technical video. I know I've been making a lot of tutorials and things recently, and I've had some commenters expressing when I start to then move back into more general tech content that they're not able to follow what's going on without written instructions, or that they don't care about the more abstract projects on the channel. So if you're subscribed to this channel just for Linux tutorials, you should not watch this video. This video is going to involve almost no Linux. This is just a fun video, and I'm basing it off of a channel that I enjoy watching a lot called It's My Natural Color. On that channel, a guy called Tom over in the UK does a lot of very long vlog style videos about acquiring, restoring, and using vintage Macs. And I don't own a ton of Macs myself, but that's kind of the feel that I'm going for in this video. Is we're gonna be using some old computers and taking a look at some old software because it's fun, because I like to see what software designers used to do versus what they do today, and I enjoy nostalgia and trips down memory lane. So let's start off with the premise of this video. So if you take a look at the first couple of videos on my channel, the computer sitting next to me, it was not this beast of a desktop that I have today, the Impulse workstation. My first computer was not my System 76 laptop that's sitting on the desk behind me, and you probably can't see it because my chair is blocking it. My first computer was not the i7 workstation, the desktop that I built. I built that desktop that I was using for years in a series very close to the start of this channel, but my very first computer that was ever shown on this YouTube channel was an HP Pavilion TX 2510 US entertainment notebook computer. I still have the model number memorized. That was my first personal computer that was mine. Of course, my family owned a couple of computers before that, but the HP Pavilion 2510 was the first laptop, the first computer that was just mine to tinker with, install things on. It was not technically the first computer I ever put Linux on, but it was the computer that really helped me get into Linux, which of course has affected my life and my career a lot. Now, those of you who tuned into the Nerd on the Street Extra Life live stream in November may have seen that the laptop...
So this was my first personal computer, and it's a nice little 12.1-inch HP Pavilion 2510.
got a little beat up at that stream.
Hey, there we go.
And what we were doing there was we were recreating a web show that I did many years ago. I think I was in elementary school when I recorded the original clip of that. And that was a clip of my laptop getting hit.
Jeez.
And we wanted to recreate that clip because it was kind of a funny clip. So we tried to recreate it at Extra Life. Some of the participants went a little overboard.
Oh!
And the laptop is pretty much dead now. Now, the laptop didn't even turn on before Extra Life. I would not have done that at Extra Life if the laptop that I had still worked at all, but it didn't even, I mean, it powered on, it seemed like, but it did not post. We didn't get a BIOS screen. And I've actually got the laptop here. It's in a gateway box. It is an HP laptop. The reason it's in this box is because this box is much smaller, it's shorter, it's thinner than the box that the HP laptop came in, which is interesting because the HP laptop was much smaller than the Gateway laptop that came in this box. It was a very inefficient package the first time, but after seeing my laptop get so destroyed,
This is broken glass.
I was feeling kind of bummed out, and then I had an idea. You know, the laptop wasn't really worth anything by that point anyway, and I figured they must have made at least a few of them. You know, I wasn't the only person who owned one of those. So I hopped on eBay, and as a little Christmas present to myself, I looked up the model number of my laptop on eBay to see if anyone else had one. Now, this is not a Mac that they sold a ton of with the exact same configuration. This was a PC, so I knew it was going to be pretty difficult to find an exact match, but I at least found something close. And you know, I really want you guys to actually see these laptops. I know what they look like already, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring the camera into the desk here. I've made some space, and we're gonna take a look at these together. All right, guys, so here we are. We're in a relatively well-lit area, and the first thing I wanna do is take a look at my laptop for reference. And by the way, I have switched this video over to 4K. It has been quite a while since I've made a 4K video, but I think this one deserves it. So as you can see inside of this gateway box, I've piled some of the accessories that came with a laptop here. This is an original cleaning cloth from HP. Here's a little sort of bundle of information and media that they provided. And actually these, I'm not sure if these actually came with the laptop. OneNote 2007, that might have come with the laptop. Down here, we've got some cool documentation. This is similar to what the laptop looks like right here, but it is an older model than the one that I've got. And HP used to ship just blank notepads with their computers. Of course, it's sort of stationary. It's got HP text on the bottom. But yeah, how crazy is that? Like, if you buy a computer today, you're definitely not gonna get quite as much paper as this. You're not gonna get a blank notepad for sure. We've got a quick reference guide here, and the laptop came with Windows Vista, so you'll see the Vista logo referenced throughout this documentation. But we've got a quick reference guide. Recovery disks we'll get to in a little while. I've got some, but they're not here in Denver, so I can't use them. We've got important information about using dial-up internet connections. And this laptop was purchased around, I want to say around 2008 or 2009. Here's the stock image that was everywhere on the branding for this laptop. It shows off that the screen can swivel, and they had all these accessories that you could get for it. I never did get any stands or anything. Although I did get an extra battery. The laptop came with a recovery partition, interestingly enough. So you can see it says press 11 when prompted, and it will boot into the recovery partition. Now, the recovery partition, I don't believe, is still on the hard drive in this thing. And I'm also not sure if the hard drive that's currently in my laptop is the original one anyway. I did keep the default OS install for years after I had this thing, but eventually when I got into Linux and I figured out what partitioning was, I did end up removing that recovery partition eventually. LightScribe was one of the coolest features of this laptop. These were the CDs and DVDs that you could laser etch your own labels onto, and I used those a ton. First for Linux disks, and then eventually for video stuff too. We've got a long list of telephone numbers that we could ostensibly call for support. No clue if any of those are still current or not. 1-800-HP-INVENT. Like, I don't even hear the term HP Invent very often anymore. The laptop came with Norton Security. Back in the day after the Norton trial expired, I installed McAfee security software on it long before I knew about free antivirus software programs like Avast, which is what I normally use today. The laptop came with a limited warranty, which over a decade later, it's 2020 as of today, I doubt the limited warranty is still in effect. And we're almost to the end of our documentation here. I just think it's neat to see, people designed all of this. Somebody had to go into a desktop publishing program and actually lay all of this stuff out. And they were actually shipping these accessory ads with their laptops, like unironically. So that's a cool bit of history. Now in here, we've got the laptop charger, which has seen better days. The cabling is a little bit torn up. This was one of my dogs that did that. And when I saw that happened, I obviously moved a cable because I did not like the idea of animals chewing on live power cables. But if we take a look in here, the last piece of documentation that I moved over from the other box, and there was other stuff in the original box because it was a larger box originally, but this is a cool, basically a poster if we unfold this here. So this is a big Quickstart guide. So you can see from this picture how big the original box was compared to the laptop. That is very accurate. And then here's the first Windows Vista screenshot that we've seen, and we'll see more of that in a bit. The laptop did come with a stylus because it does have a touchscreen and a fingerprint reader. This thing is a ridiculously cool laptop. And then on the other side, here we go. So it's laying out all the features for us. You've got your internal microphone and webcam at the top and the webcam light. There's a fingerprint reader on there, touchscreen, consumer infrared lens. The laptop did come with its own remote control too. And then some buttons to rotate the screen and things because the screen can swivel around and you can use this thing as a tablet. This laptop had a ton of ports, more ports than you would see on a laptop today probably. And instead of looking at the paper, we should probably just take a look at the machine itself. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then the computer is personal again. That was HP's slogan when I got this thing. And this Pavilion line had this cool they were trying to be artsy and artistic with it, with this circular sort of splash design. And you'll see that on the laptop itself. So here is the laptop in a sort of protective case that I think was for the Gateway laptop actually. And this was my personal computer for a period of when I got it in 2008 or 2009 all the way up until 2012 when I built my desktop. You can see reflecting off the light there the design that I was mentioning on the upper left of the lid. The only sticker that I ever put on this thing was an Apple sticker. That was when I got into Macs, and I regretted buying this thing. My parents got it for me, but I paid for it, quote unquote, with my own money. I had saved up allowance and stuff for many years wanting a laptop. And yeah, I did wish that I had gotten a Mac. And so eventually I stuck that Apple sticker on there that I had gotten with an iPod Touch. I've never really been a sticker on your laptop kind of person, so that's the only one. We've got the HP logo over here. It does not light up or anything. It's just printed on there. And you can kind of tell that the screen is wobbling around here because the clips that hold the screen down or hold the lid down to the bottom of the laptop are broken from a fall down the steps. If I turn the laptop over here and you can kind of hear glass cracking, that would be from Extra Life. And I'm actually going to move the box out of the way real quick. Here is the bottom of the machine, and this was before laptops were super locked down and thin and unconfigurable. You can see there are many panels you can open up on this thing, and I'm pretty sure I've opened up every panel at least once, if only to look inside of there. I never did take the entire bottom cover off, but this is a panel that holds the wireless card inside of it. This panel holds the RAM, which I wanted to upgrade. I don't think I ever actually did upgrade it. 3 gigabytes of RAM is what came in this thing. The 2.5-inch SATA bay is down here, so it's got a hard drive in it right now. This slider right here is actually to remove the optical drive. So you can see right here the optical drive that does have the LightScribe logo on it. If we do slide this slider far enough, you can see the entire optical drive actually pops out. And a build option was actually to stick a second hard drive in there instead of having any optical drive at all. So that's interesting. You can see the connector on the end there. It does not look like standard SATA, but we will slide that back in. And then of course on the top, we've got our 2 battery sliders, and if we slide both of those out, then we can pull the battery out. This was an upgraded battery. The original battery was 6-cell, and it did stick out the back of the laptop. You can see that this one extrudes farther out the back of the laptop than the rest of the case. The original 6-cell battery that came in this thing also stuck out further back, but this one actually props the laptop up as well, where the original 6-cell battery did not. Here's where the remote control was stored in the express card slot. And I did use this remote control from time to time. It wasn't good for a whole lot, basically playing, pausing. There were volume controls at the bottom that were pretty universal. And then a power button that would put the machine to sleep. So yeah, that's cool. We'll stick that back in. Power was right here. On the other side, you can see we had VGA video output. No HDMI. There are 2 USB ports on the back of the computer and that is an RJ12? This is a phone jack right here. That's not Ethernet. That is a phone jack. Standard Kensington lock. And on this side of the machine, we do have, we've got VGA. This is S-Video that I never used. Expansion port 3. Never had anything that would plug into those. We do have Ethernet, of course, and one more USB port there. So yeah, no digital video output at all. I'm gonna set the laptop down, and if we carefully open it up here, you can see the damage from Extra Life to the screen right there. Now, the reason why this is still okay is because there is a film on top of all this glass. The glass has not fallen out because of that film, since this is a touchscreen, and it was an interesting touchscreen. Let me move the keyboard protector out of the way. HP's TouchSmart line of laptops, they released a TouchSmart a year or 2 after this one. And the TouchSmart, it looked very similar. It was all black instead of the lighter silver on the bottom. And you could just tap the screen. The digitizer was farther out toward the front. The digitizer on this thing is farther in behind other components of the screen. So you actually had to press. The touchscreen did not detect taps. It detected pushes. And so that was very interesting. But yeah, the screen was obviously not shattered when I used to use it day to day. You can see there are some Velcro here that I stuck on, a couple of little Velcro squares. And I used to have Velcro squares also sitting down here. So if I pull up actually this right here, this tiny little clip is supposed to go into a slot at the top of the screen to hold the screen shut. And then you're supposed to have to push the button on the top of the screen in order to open it up. Try not to move this thing around too much, because even though there is the film there, I don't know how much more this screen can take. But yeah, you can see I kept all the original stickers on it. I was never the type to take stickers off of things either. The film over some of them is kind of rolling up. Very small laptop. No number pad, obviously. The keyboard was pretty good. This was before the chiclet keyboard craze, but this is a relatively flat keyboard. The keys are all still fairly responsive. The space bar is maybe a little bit mushy because that was one I obviously used a lot. There's a button here to turn the touchpad on and off. And of course, the screen can twist around and lay back down. And now, once again, the clip on the bottom is supposed to hold the screen back when you do this. Now it's supposed to be a tablet. We can pop the pin out of the side here. The pin even has a handy string that's connected to the laptop that I had to loop in as part of the unboxing process. And the pin has a button on the side. It's a fairly nice pin. It's got an eraser that also has a button it can detect when you're clicking that. And even though the touchscreen, like I said, with your finger, you have to press it for it to know that you're there, the touchscreen did detect the tip of this pen when you were just hovering it maybe half an inch over the screen. So yeah, very cool laptop all around, but obviously not in great shape. And like I said, it does not power on, or if it does, it does not post. So before all the glass comes crashing out of this thing, we are going to move it off of the desk. And here is the next thing that we are going to unbox in this video. So like I said, I hopped on eBay, and I'm not a big eBay person. I don't buy things on eBay very often. I don't buy a lot of used tech in general. I enjoy having new products that are direct from the manufacturer. I've just never been a used kind of person. I like to know the service history of my products and things like that. But I did hop on, and I was able to get a pretty good deal on this thing. I made an offer that was lower than what was posted for it and received a counter offer that was acceptable. It looks like my address is written on the other side there. This was actually an international shipment, and the packaging looks crazy. The only packaging I've taken off so far was the label on the top that had my address in big bold print. But this thing is actually from Greece, and the shipping was a significant portion of the expense. So if we open this thing up here, I am curious to see how well the laptop fared in shipping, because I know how small this laptop is, but this is also very small packaging. So I'm a little bit concerned, but it'll probably be fine. So we've got tape all around the thing. This is obviously not an original box, so we won't spend too much time looking at it. Let me grab my knife that I've had for longer than the super old laptop, and let's start slicing here until we figure out how the box opens up. So judging by the lack of seams on the other sides, I think this is the part of the box that opens up. Yes, it is. And hopefully the camera angle's doing okay. I'm in a very crazy equipment setup right now. I'm very cramped, but you know, trying to get good shots here. All right, so let's slide this thing out. And like I said, this is not going to be the 2510 exact model that I had, but it is a 2500 series laptop. So everything has just come out of the box in one go there. And what do we have here? We've got a charger on top. And if we take a look, this charger is very clean. Oh, okay. Interesting. So they sent an EU power cable here. Like I said, I ordered it from Greece. They knew my shipping address was in the US, but I know, if you're a seller in Greece, I can't hold this against you sending me the EU power cable. Back years ago, this reminds me of when I got my South Korean 2K monitor, my 1440p QNX monitor, and I did an unboxing of that on the channel. It's no longer up, one of the few videos I've ever removed, but that one also came with some other power plug. I think that one was actually Korean. This one is definitely EU, but that's okay because this is a standard Cloverleaf or Mickey Mouse power connector, so I can find more of those that are US. Taking a look at the other side here, this is definitely the correct type of plug here. It's got the yellow tip on it, the circular barrel connector. And if we look at the charger itself, it is an original HP charger. It's got the HP logo on it right there. So that is very neat. When you buy a used computer, you're never sure if the accessories are going to be name brand or if they're going to be aftermarket. This one looks like it is original and pretty clean. You can see it says replace with HP spare, and it's got the part number on it still. Oh, and this is neat. If I take a look at my own charger, let's see if the part number is the same. Replace with HP spare 40. No, the part number is not the same. Interesting. But yeah, you can see the stickers in exactly the same place on those two. Awesome. All right, so here's the laptop itself, which is what we really want to see. Like I said, see how well it fared. This is not a ton of bubble wrap around it, honestly. I would put a computer in this amount of bubble wrap if I was moving it myself, but I would definitely use a lot more if I was sending it even domestically, let alone internationally. All right, and here we've got, it looks like some painter's tape or masking tape. All right, and the bubble wrap is tearing as I'm trying to take the tape off, so if that's the case, we might as well just go in here. Looks like we've got an opening on this side of the laptop. It's like it's Christmas. It's actually New Year's Day, but it feels like it's Christmas right now. All right, and if we pull open another layer or two of bubble wrap, I just said there was not a lot of bubble wrap, but this is actually quite a bit. Okay, and I can see the laptop poking out down here. We're almost to the end of this. Okay, and here in some plastic packaging, we've got our HP laptop. I can feel it's got the original 6-cell battery, which is what was advertised. And the reason I picked out this one in particular, there were a surprising number of HP 2500 series laptops on eBay. Many of them were broken. Some of them were in the same state as mine, where the screens were shattered. Many of them had just been dropped and beaten up over the years. Since these were mobile devices, they were designed to be tablets. You're supposed to take them on the go. The kind of treatment that mine saw was not as unusual as you might think. And so a lot of the laptops that I saw were very beat up, scuffed, things like that. This one was in extremely good condition. And I am excited to see it in the flesh here. So here we go. Here we have one of our new HP Pavilion laptops. If we hold it up so the light catches it here, you can see it does have the same sort of splash design in the plastic there on the left, which is excellent. We've still got the same HP logo on the right. We are missing here a cap for the hinge. The hinge is there, but I can see the wires there, and it almost looks like something's coming off of the wires. The thing was advertised as working, so we'll make sure it powers on and everything in a moment here. But we'll set this down. I did just check the bag. There is no hinge cap, so that part is just missing. I can feel, just moving this thing around, how much more solid it is, and that's because the clips that hold the lid down to the bottom are not broken on this one. You can see if I set the laptop down and I just try to pick it up, I'm not going to do it too hard because I know from experience that will break them, but I do need to actually push the button here and lift in order for the lid to come up. Wow, and so we can lift this thing up and take a look at the bottom here. Now this model is very similar, still came with Windows Vista, still has an AMD processor and ATI graphics, which I didn't know the difference between different processor brands when I bought my laptop. By the time I built my desktop, I was ready for an Intel machine, and of course today I'm back to using AMD. But yeah, I didn't know what AMD and ATI really entailed back then. Everything worked out okay, but yeah. You can see this one has had its promotional sticker on the left removed, and we can see more of that circular splash design there. If we lift it up, there we go. You can see it in the lighting there. It's more apparent in person, although it is still pretty subtle. Taking a look around the laptop, this one does not have Light Scribe, which is interesting. This was definitely either an earlier, a cheaper, or both model. Just a regular DVD drive. Still comes with a remote, and if we take a look at that, it looks pretty much the exact same. We can pop that back in. Everything else looks pretty similar. This is an SD card slot on here, by the way. That was also on my model. We've still got our wireless antenna on the front next to our 3 audio jacks. This slider over here on the right is to turn the wireless on and off. It's basically an airplane mode toggle. Although it's not a switch, it just always sticks to the left and you move it over to the right and it springs back. On the left side, we've got our power, which we will try in just a moment. If we take a look at the right side here, you can see we do have a pin, and we can pop that out. This is not broken. The loop on this pin is still intact, so I could stick a string in there if I wanted to hold it to the laptop like you saw my laptop had. But this one did not come with the string pre-installed, so either the owner did not originally put it in or it was removed over the years. Aside from that, all the same expansion ports and everything, it really is very similar. You can see the battery, like I said, it's that original 6-cell battery. Looks just like the one that came in my laptop originally. It does stick out the back a little bit, which I liked because it helps you hold it a lot easier. But this one does not prop the laptop up, so the laptop will sit flat on the desk when you're using it. If we turn the thing upside down for just a second, it looks almost identical. And I don't want to scratch the top of this thing up more than it already is. So I am just going to put a little towel down here. I don't think the towel is microfiber, unfortunately. I've got microfiber cloths, large ones, back in St. Louis, but I don't have those here in Denver. Oh, and that seems to be affecting our white balance. Hopefully our camera can cope with that. So if we do take a look at the sticker on the bottom of this thing for the model, this says product HP Pavilion TX 2500. That's all it says. There is a serial number on here, and I will be using that to look this up on HP's website later, assuming their stuff is still online. Now, Dell is a really great manufacturer in terms of keeping really old computers on their support pages. So even many years after a Dell computer has been obsolete, you'll still be able to get driver downloads and things like that, and manuals from Dell. HP, not as good, because I did try and look my own laptop up. I still had the support page bookmarked, actually, back from when I owned it, and it was my daily driver. But my bookmark no longer worked, and HP's website no longer shows the Pavilion TX 2500 as existing. So we'll need to go to some third-party websites to get all the proper drivers and stuff for these. Oh, but actually, if we do take a look at the sticker on the bottom of my laptop, it says the exact same thing. It says product HP Pavilion TX 2500. The specific model number was never written anywhere in particular. The serial number obviously will identify exactly what the original specifications were. But yeah, we will have to guess for now. So I'm going to turn this thing right side up, and I'm going to open it up. And let's take a look at the inside one more time. So the screen, the hinge is a bit wobbly, as you can see. It is not entirely tight. And yeah, I am disappointed that this piece down here is missing. However, the bigger thing that's missing here, for those of you who are eagle-eyed, you should be seeing it right now. It's not this. There is a cap or a piece missing there, but there's a feature missing from this laptop. That is the fingerprint sensor. I was very mad at myself because I saw this laptop on eBay. I saw how good of condition it was in compared to other devices, and it was available for a decent price, so I sprung for it. However, I did not even see in the pictures that the fingerprint sensor was missing until I had already purchased the machine because, I mean, all the other features are here. You can see how similar it looks. All the switches, the ports, the buttons, the keyboard, the stickers, everything looked so similar, but there is no fingerprint sensor on the left side where there was on my model. So I was disappointed about that. However, this is still a cool laptop. It's still a touch screen. It still swivels around. And you can see this one, when we close it, you can actually see, if I angle this properly, the clips springing up to hold the top of the machine down. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, just a tiny bit. You can. You can see the clips springing up there, and that holds it in tablet mode. Oh, and I have just turned it on accident by hitting one of these buttons. So I was going to do a big countdown, but I guess I'm not doing that. I did hear the optical drive kick on, which is normal. It always makes a noise that is not super flattering when the machine is turning on. We've got checksum error. Press F5 to load CMOS default value. Press F6 to continue. I'll hit F5 to load the default value first, I guess. One other thing that immediately hits you about this machine is how many lights there are on it. Obviously, I've got a lot of lights pointing at it right now, so I'm in a very well-lit space, but there's a power light down here that is on and it's blue. There's the Wi-Fi light that is either orange or blue based on the status of the wireless toggle. There's a touchpad light that also changes color based on whether the touchpad's turned on or off. And then we've got lights on all three of our volume buttons. We've got a power light there. The hard drive light is next to it on the display, as well as the plug AC adapter indicator. On the right side, we've got lights on all of the buttons that are on the front of the machine there for basically no reason. And I can hear the fans sort of running right now. Oh, I didn't hit F5 or F6. I think I hit the wrong thing. Okay, system diagnostics. So the machine is on right now, at least. I'm going to hit escape, and we'll see if we boot into an OS here. Yes. Now, the seller put Windows 10 on here. Like I said, the laptop came with Windows Vista, and the point of this video or this little series is to be retro. So we're going to be wiping off Windows 10 from here. And yes, sorry if it makes any of the people in my audience feel old, but Windows Vista, at least to me, is retro at this point. We're going to put Windows Vista on here and load it up with some of the old software that I used to use, if we can find downloads for it, that is. All right, and your battery is very low. Oh, man. Okay, so the touchpad works just about as well as I remember it. It's a tiny touchpad. Look at how small this touchpad is. That's like 2 inches wide, like 1.5 inches tall, and the two tiny little buttons for it. Yeah, I know my PC battery is very low. Thank you, Windows. What is very low? 5% remaining. I will go ahead and plug it in here. All right, and when it's plugged in, you can see the ring around the plug lights up too. This is a pretty loose connection. Oh, I can push it in further there. There we go. Cool, so we are charging now. And like I said, obviously we've got Windows 10 here, which is going to come off of it. Now, like I was saying, the original thing came with Vista, and I want to experience that again. You can see the The stylus is working. I'm not touching the screen. It's just detecting it. And I can touch the screen. Oh boy, yeah, this stylus is not in as good of condition as the one on my own laptop. The button is very flimsy there. But yeah, we can open up our start menu, and I don't know what Windows 10 comes with these days. Can we scroll? No, scrolling is not great. All right, guys, well, I just had a massive failure. Obviously, I don't make these longer videos very often, or these vlog-style videos. Normally I'm making tutorials, so I don't record super long camera clips a lot. Normally the long footage is screen recording footage. So as you can see behind me, I do have the HP Pavilion 2500 unboxed. Now I got a brand new camera just before Extra Life this year. You can see the Sony NX cam sitting on the tripod there. And that's a very fancy camera, and apparently by default it does not beep when it starts and stops recording. I had actually noticed that it doesn't beep when it starts recording. I didn't think it was a big issue, but my SD card just ran out of space and I kept going for another 25-30 minutes because the camera didn't beep. I kept looking up at it to check my angle and everything, which is a real shame because I was making a point to look up at it and check my camera angle, but I didn't even notice for quite a while that I had stopped recording. So ordinarily the video would be ruined right now. However, I've got some good news. I actually purchased 2 HP Pavilions on eBay. I am going to put the SD card back in the Sony camera, and I'll tell you why. Alright guys, we're back. I have put the SD card back in the Sony camera. We've got 80 minutes to record, and I have turned on the option to beep when the camera starts and stops recording. I have no idea why that's not the default, but hey, the more you know. So as you can see here, the laptop has gone to sleep. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on. I did record a lot of good thoughts and first impressions. Let me slide that power slider again. I recorded a lot of good thoughts, and I do want to use that stuff. So I am going to take some pictures of this laptop and kind of sync it up with the audio that I've got. As you can see, the laptop is working. However, those of you who are eagle-eyed might notice one feature that is missing from this laptop, and that is the fingerprint sensor. On my laptop, there is a fingerprint sensor on the left-hand side, right about here, and there is no fingerprint sensor on this laptop. By the way, it was an extremely awkward fingerprint sensor to use, because sitting in front of the laptop, you really had to bend your hand and reach up to touch the fingerprint sensor and swipe. It was not a touch sensor, it was a swipe sensor. And you'll see what I mean in a little while. In the HP TouchSmart laptops that came after this one, the fingerprint sensor was moved down to the palm rest. I think it was on this side actually, which made much more sense. Now, I actually didn't notice that this laptop did not have a fingerprint sensor until after I had already bought it on eBay, and I was really kicking myself for that because there were a few photos. There weren't a ton of photos. If there were a lot of photos, I think I would have noticed, but there were just 3 or 4 photos of this laptop. I was looking at all the other features, you know, all the buttons, all the lights and everything. I looked at the webcam, I looked at the hinge, I looked at the stickers, and I was looking at the general design of everything. You know, all the ports and everything were in the exact same place on this laptop as they were on my other laptop. So I was convinced that this was the exact same laptop that I had. And then it wasn't until after I had hit the buy button and made my payment that I noticed that the fingerprint sensor was missing. Luckily, this was not a brand new laptop. This was something that I got used and very cheap, so I still had a little bit of budget left over. So what I'm going to do is, like I said, I do really want to install Windows Vista. I know that sounds weird to say. I really want to install Windows Vista in some old games and old just applications that I used to use all the time. And I'm going to do that on the other laptop that we're about to unbox in a second, and you'll get the actual live unboxing of that one. This laptop, though, we are going to install Linux on this one, and that's going to work out well because this one has ATI graphics. The other one actually has NVIDIA graphics, which I'll talk about in a moment. But this one should be plug and play with all the graphics and everything, even though they're very old. And so we are going to install, I think we'll start with Ubuntu, and then we'll see how that works. And I want to see how Ubuntu works with the touchscreen and a stylus, because, you know, GNOME and Ubuntu's Unity were both geared toward touchscreens in their own ways. I actually thought that Unity was better for touchscreens than GNOME was. It was interesting. I was using my version of this laptop when the GNOME 2 to 3 transition happened and when Ubuntu moved from GNOME 2 to Unity. I saw that happening, you know, back when it was happening, and people were upset that GNOME 3 was designed for a touchscreen, and because people were upset about that, Ubuntu developed Unity as an alternative. I actually thought Unity worked better on a touchscreen. I thought GNOME made more sense for a keyboard and mouse because of things that it used like hot corners. But yeah, as you can see, our video is running again now, and we do have a working laptop here. I'm having a good time. This touchpad it's very nostalgic, even just using this thing. I was talking about earlier how small the touchpad is. This thing it's like 2 inches wide, maybe 1.5 inches tall. It does have a little scroll bar on the right side, which it looks like is not detected in the current OS installation. The laptop does support 2-finger scrolling as well, but it looks like maybe we're missing some drivers for that. We can push the button on top of the touchpad to disable it, and you can see the light turning orange and blue there when that happens. Similarly, if I go down here into my network settings, here we go. You can see I do have a number of Wi-Fi networks available, including my own Nerd on the Street networks. If I do go ahead and slide this wireless indicator, you can see that light turns to orange. And now if we go and look at our connections, it says we are in airplane mode and it says Wi-Fi is turned off. So those indicators are working out of the box. We're going to look more at the Windows-specific features on the other laptop, and this one we'll come back to maybe in this video, maybe in another video. I don't really know. But yeah, I do apologize that the recording stopped there. You know, the risk with new equipment is always that you're not going to know what's going on quite as well. And obviously that's what happened here. Now, before we get the other laptop and break that out, I do want to open up Device Manager on this laptop and just compare some details. That is, if Windows 10 will show us the search results. Here we go. All right, so let's take a look. Our disk drive here, this is not the original hard drive that's in this laptop. This is actually an SSD. That's going to work better when we're using this as a tablet because obviously it's not great for hard drives to move them around while they're on because they have to physically spin and mechanically write using that arm to the drive, whereas SSDs, it's all, it's solid state, it's stationary, much safer to use an SSD while you're holding it like you do with a tablet. So that's another reason why this one's going to be great for Linux and a little cheap tablet. And I'm not expecting it to be a great tablet, but we're still working on the whole touchscreen thing in the Linux world, and this laptop was doing it years ago with Linux. So that'll be neat to see. If we take a look at our processor here, I found out my laptop that I had, the TX 2510 US, it actually was fairly high-end in terms of this line of computers. So let's actually just open up this PC and we'll right-click and go to our properties. Oh, and we do have an HP recovery partition on this laptop, so maybe we can restore this one to Vista. Interesting, I didn't think the recovery partition would be here since I knew it was going to be that aftermarket SSD. If we double-click in here, oh, it's empty. Huh. So maybe there's not a recovery partition. Okay, that threw me off there that there was even a separate partition. You can see that we've got a Turion X2 dual-core mobile RM70 processor running at 2.0 gigahertz. That is a less powerful processor than the one that was in my laptop. We do have the same 3 gigabytes of RAM that I had back in the day. This is a 64-bit processor, so I'm not sure why we're running 32-bit Windows 10 right now. But if we do come back to our device manager, the one other thing I wanted to look at was the graphics. So we've got ATI Radeon HD 3200 graphics in this machine. So we are going to come back to this laptop later when we install Linux on it. We will go ahead and shut that down. Yeah, and there's that even though it's a different optical drive because this one does not have LightScribe like I mentioned earlier, the noise that it makes when it turns on and off, it's like a grinding noise and then a pause and then a lower pitched grinding noise. That is so nostalgic. I must have heard it thousands of times while I was using this laptop day to day. But we are going to unplug this laptop and we'll take it off the desk for a moment. Or why don't we just move it to the side here, actually. This is going to get very crazy with lots of tiny laptops on my desk. All right, so here we are at a higher camera angle again, and here we do have our second HP Pavilion laptop. This one came from within the United States. Looks like Virginia based on the return shipping address. And this box is much more orthodox. So we'll just slice the tape open here. And it looks like they did double box it. There's another box inside of this one. Definitely not the original HP box once again. I was talking earlier about how large the original HP boxes were. This one is larger than the one that was shipped internationally, and it was taped quite a bit there. But let's open this thing up. My word, we have more tape. We'll cut through that on both sides and unfold this. And inside of here, okay, so it looks like we've got at the bottom here a charging cable. So this is a cloverleaf to good. This one's United States since it came from within the United States. So here is cable number 1. And here is charger number 1. Now, this one might have come with 2 chargers. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'm going to set that to the side for a second. We'll take this charger out of the bubble wrap. So this is an aftermarket charger. As you can see, that is not HP's logo. That is somebody else's logo. But it should work just the same. It is possibly lighter. Yeah, it's a little bit lighter comparing it with the other one, just by a smidge though. And the plug is at least an actual barrel connector right on the cable. It's not an adapter or anything. So yeah, it could be much worse. And we'll set that to the side. And then inside of this bubble wrap, we've got, oh, this is the battery. Interesting. So they shipped the battery. Oh, and this is an 8-cell. Huh. I'm going to be honest, I assumed that both of these were coming with 6-cell batteries, and I didn't really look at that on the eBay listing. But this one does come with a larger 8-cell battery, and I could put this in any of the 3 laptops. They should all be compatible, even though they're slightly different laptops. And this is an HP original. You can see the replace with HP spare sticker there with the part number on it. All right, so I'll set that to the side. So I guess we only got 1 charger. There were some listings I was looking at that had 2 chargers in the same listing. Wasn't sure if this was one of those or not. Okay, so we can see in the bottom here of this box, I can see the laptop in there. It's got some bubble wrap. This is the bottom of the laptop. Since this side of the box is more open, we're gonna attack it from this way. Let me grab my remote and just zoom in a little bit here so you guys can see this better. All right, so we will once again just slice a little bit of our tape off, and we'll open this thing up. Okay, and it'll be interesting to see, like I said, one of my biggest things when I was looking for these laptops, I wasn't really too worried about the internals, although the internals are definitely part of this. I was more worried about the condition of the unit as a whole. And I'll talk a little bit more about that after I get this thing opened up. So we've got bubble wrap coming up there, and here is the laptop. Nothing else in the box, as you can see, so we'll throw that off to the side. And here, underneath, just a little bit more tape. If we unfold our bubble wrap, all right, and our bubble wrap has started to tear here too. I was trying to preserve as many layers as possible. Okay, but this one actually seems like it might be in better condition than the first one. You can see glinting off the light there, that exact same sort of circular splash design etched on the left side of the laptop, and then on the right side we have the exact same logo. This laptop is not missing the hinge cover, so you can see that is nicely covered right there. All right, and I will take some pictures and sync that up with the audio from before, but since we are recording on video now, I'll just walk through one more time since we've got the opportunity. On the front of the laptop here, we've got 3 audio jacks. That's 3 more audio jacks than you get on most smartphones these days. We've got a wireless antenna there. We've got our power slider over here on the left, and on the right we've got our Wi-Fi airplane mode toggle. If we turn the laptop to take a look at its right side, we've got the 1 USB port, Ethernet, expansion slot. Okay, so this laptop, upon closer inspection, where the other laptop still has its writing that says expansion port 3 on top of that slot right there, this second unit, it looks like the lettering is worn off there. So that's the kind of thing where you can definitely clean these up. But you can tell this one has a little bit more wear. We've still got our VGA S-Video. That's the only video output that we've got on this machine. On the back, this is where the battery will slide in. We do have our telephone jack for dial-up internet and 2 USB ports on the back, as well as a Kensington lock port. On the right side, we've got our barrel connector for the power. There's the SD card reader and the little LED light next to it to indicate when it's being written to. We do have interesting. So the other laptop came with the remote control for the media that I talked about. And so this remote control looks just like the one that I think you did see that came with my own laptop. So this was included with the unit from Greece. This unit here, it came with an empty express card placeholder, and my own laptop came with one of these as well. It actually came in the box. This was pre-installed in the laptop, and then there was a remote in the HP box. So either this laptop did not come with a remote originally, or it's very possible the laptop did come with a remote, but it just was not included along with the rest of the accessories, all the documentation that I did show you. My laptop came with headphones as well. They're little earbuds, at least, with a cable that was quite long, and those were very high-quality earbuds. So yeah, I would actually, if I had to hazard a guess, I would say this laptop did come with a remote and it just didn't make its way to me. But that is okay. That's what you get when you're purchasing used products once again, and that's why I usually don't do that. But this project is a special case. You can see here this optical drive is LightScribe, which is awesome. HP actually owns LightScribe technically, and I'm very disappointed that they've basically discontinued it because it was very cool and accessible technology. I am going to throw the towel down here on the desk, and then we'll flip the laptop over so we can take a look at the bottom. Very similar setup to the other two, obviously. We've still got the two sliders to free the battery, which it's already out on this one. We've got our RAM cover, we've got our hard drive area here, wireless card cover, and we still do have that same slider on the bottom right that we can use. If we slide that, it's pretty tough. It will actually remove the optical drive, and it was a build option for these machines. You could have a second storage drive installed here, a second hard drive, instead of an optical drive if you wanted when you ordered the machine. And once again, we do have our pin at the bottom left here. The pin does come out. Once again, no string. I must have been the only owner. I put that string on first thing. The Quickstart guide in the box showed you how to connect the pin to the laptop with a string so that you would never lose it. And that was a very tough string. I mean, you could basically hold the laptop by the pin and the laptop would kind of swing underneath it. But the string would not break, and neither would the pin or the laptop. It was a very sturdy setup. And yeah, that was, before I even turned the thing on, I think I attached that string so that I would never lose the pin. But neither of these units have it. And none of the other ones that I saw on eBay really did either. I think there were maybe one or two that did, actually. This pen feels like it's in better shape than the one that came from Greece, but it does still feel maybe a little bit looser than my own. I'll have to see. I could probably just use the pin from any of these three laptops with either of the other two. I don't think there's any kind of syncing that goes on. But yeah, we'll take a look at that in a bit. We are going to flip this thing up for now. Let me go ahead and put the battery in. And actually here, why don't I bring it back upside down to do that. So the battery is super easy to install and replace. This is the 8-cell, so that's why it will cause the laptop to kind of stick up, just like the one that I've got in my laptop right now. So now I've got two 6-cell batteries and two 8-cells, because I've got one of each from my own unit and then one of each type that came with each of these two eBay units. Awesome. Well, I'm very happy with the condition of this one so far. Let's open it up and see if that continues. Okay. Yeah, so the screen, once again, you can kind of see already, it is still pretty shaky. I can probably tighten that stuff up. I'll have to see what kind of screws are present here and if I can find service manuals for this unit. You can see this unit is actually missing all of its stickers. Oh, and it's even missing the one up here that shows you which direction the screen turns. Interesting. There's still some sticker residue up here, so that one must have been on for quite a while, but yeah. I thought in the pictures, at least, the stickers at the bottom right were still present, but they're clearly not here. If the stickers were here, they would show us that this laptop actually has NVIDIA graphics and not ATI graphics. Now, once again, when I purchased my laptop, I was in elementary school. I knew some stuff about computers, but I was not to the point yet where I knew about the different brands of graphics chipsets that you could have in a laptop. And so I ended up not liking ATI for a really long time. And, you know, when I built my desktop in 2012, I went with NVIDIA because it was not what I had in that laptop, and I knew the laptop was not very powerful. But I never actually knew until I started researching for this project that they did actually make a version of the laptop that had NVIDIA graphics, and this is one of those. Now, in Linux, that adds complications because AMD and ATI graphics, the driver for those is built into the Linux kernel. As I found out after I built my desktop in 2012, the NVIDIA driver, obviously proprietary, not built into the Linux kernel, and so that adds a lot of complications, especially once you get into older models like this that are no longer supported by NVIDIA. So that's why this laptop's going to be the one we put Vista on. The other one with ATI graphics is going to be the one we put Ubuntu on. The sticker on the left here is also missing. I did not see very many models that still had that one. even though my own still does. But you can see the cool print here that I actually never even noticed really that there was too much of a design on the bottom left, and I kind of assumed it was part of the sticker, but it is part of the plastic there, which is neat. All right, so if I pan up a little bit here, you can see that, yes, this one does include the fingerprint reader. It's awkwardly placed. It is just above halfway up the screen, because halfway up the screen is where the clip is that holds or actually that's not a clip. This is a hole that this plastic nub sort of sticks into, and then that tells the laptop that it's closed. And it also, I think, has something to do with the clipping mechanism. I never could really figure out how the clipping mechanism worked. I don't think it's magnets, because if they were going to do magnets, they should have just made it hold shut by magnets like most modern, nicer laptops do. But yeah, now that we're actually on camera, I can demonstrate once again. If we pan our camera and we zoom in here and we slowly close the lid of the laptop, you can definitely see, yep, you just saw the two clips fly up and attach into the inside of the display. And then these holes on the top are for when you swivel the screen around and put it into tablet mode. The same clips hold on the other side of the lid. This laptop actually, it feels like the screen is better balanced left to right wise. It's more straight. And if we open this up and pan up, yeah, so this is where the fingerprint sensor is. It's not a great fingerprint sensor. I had quite a few friends back in the day. You know, I was really young, and we were just messing around with computers. I had quite a few friends try their fingers on the fingerprint reader. I was the only one who had enrolled my fingerprints in there. There was one person in particular who I knew, and she could just walk up to my laptop and swipe her finger, and for some reason, the laptop recognized her fingerprint as my own and let her in. And she's not related to me. So that was funny and interesting, and an indicator that you shouldn't rely solely on these things. But it was still really cool to have. And really, the bells and whistles are what make this laptop. Like I was starting to say earlier, the internals of this machine are not what I really care about. You know, the other machine came with an aftermarket SSD instead of the hard drive. That's a plus for me, because that's going to add speed. Now, it is cool that we're using the old processor and the old graphics and all of that. That's definitely part of the experience. But what made this laptop so cool to own, it was all of these ports. You know, this is more ports than you get on a lot of modern laptops. You know, I made a joke about smartphones earlier, but take a look at a MacBook and then take a look at this thing. I mean, we don't have any digital video. It's only VGA and S-video. But even with that, I mean, 3 USB ports plus Ethernet, a built-in dial-up modem, which is still cool, even though it's not used today, 3 analog audio ports, an optical drive. Being able to laser etch labels onto your CDs and DVDs with LightScribe was really cool. Having a fingerprint reader to get into your laptop and just being able to swivel it around and use it as a touchscreen. I mean, this thing was just the coolest freaking thing back in the day. So let's go ahead and turn it on real quick. We'll spin the display around there. All right, I'm going to back this thing up just enough for us to see the front of it, because I want you to see all the lights that come on when we turn this thing on. And I'm actually going to take the towel off of it since we're not dealing with the top right now. I actually really do like the design of the battery. I think it was smart how they made the larger battery kind of lift up the machine, because it gives you a little bit of an angle to type on. I know it's difficult to see on camera here, but it made the keyboard much less flat. And after I had been using the 8-cell battery for a while, that definitely was part of my feel for this laptop. It felt very awkward when I tried to go back to the 6-cell battery just to see what it was like. All right, but we are going to open the screen up and we will power the thing on here. First power on, we'll see how much battery we've got. And like I was talking about earlier, check out how many lights there are on this thing when it turns on. This is so contrary to today's design. There's the HP Invent BIOS screen. All right, you can see the hard drive light going there. This laptop shipped with Windows 7, which I told this other was fine since I was planning on downgrading it to Vista anyway. Very big difference in loading time since we don't have the SSD in this one. But you can definitely see the hard drive light, the power light. And here's all the lights I was talking about earlier. We've got a power light on the front as well. We've got the Wi-Fi indicator light. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lights on the bottom right of the screen there. 3 lights for our volume indicators. I mean, this thing was lit up when it was turned on. This is not an IPS screen, so it's a little bit difficult for me to see. And we've got an interesting message here. The fingerprint reader is not detected. I asked the seller on eBay if the fingerprint sensor worked, since obviously the reason I was buying a second unit was because the first one I bought was missing the fingerprint reader. They told me that it did work, and they offered to install the software for it, and I said, I'm going to wipe the software anyway, but sure, if you've got software, go ahead and install it. But yeah, that says it's not detected, which is interesting. Let's see, password hint, here we go. I think they told me the password in an eBay message as well, so password is ABCD1234 at. See if we can sign in there. This is Windows 7 Home Premium, and I used Windows 7 on my laptop for quite a while as well. I actually did keep the Vista installation exactly how it came, stock, for many years, and I upgraded it to Windows 7. I got a boxed copy of the Windows 7 upgrade as a Christmas present one year, and I performed an in-place upgrade and continued using that same OS installation. It was years until I eventually backed up and reinstalled. Oh, we've got EaseUS to do backup free, which is interesting and cool to see because that was actually the backup software that I landed on and was using. And it's a pain now because there's no Linux version. So anytime I want to go and take a look at my old files from those backups, I have to boot up a Windows VM with EaseUS installed. But yeah, I was using this specific backup software when I did perform my reinstall. And then here we do have the Digital Persona Fingerprint Reader software, it looks like, in our taskbar. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. This is not an IPS screen, so it looks very dim to me because I'm looking at it from a low angle, but I can see in the camera it's pretty standard from the normal angle. And this thing is not fast since it is that hard drive, but that's part of the charm here. All right, have you found your fingerprint sensor? So like I said, they shipped different models with the sensor in different places. So, oh, and this is not Digital Persona. This is Authentic TrueSuite, which is not the software that I am used to, but let's try enrolling a fingerprint just to see. Select a finger. All right, I'm going to start with my right pointer finger. Enter your Windows password. All right, swipe finger over the sensor to begin enrollment. So let's see if the sensor works. Just going to swipe. Successful, okay. And we swipe a couple times. Swipe was too short. Successful enrollment. Okay, so I've got a single finger here enrolled now. Now I'm going to do my left thumb next, and this one is probably the easiest to use because you can just kind of go sideways if you can get the reader to agree with you. Boy, I think the angle that I'm sitting at here is making this more difficult for me. Oh, there we go. Enrollment failure. Okay, let's try again. Here we go. Okay, successful enrollment. So now that we've got two fingers enrolled, I'm going to lock this machine. And we'll wait a second before we lock. There we go. It still says, so we've got reader not detected here. And then we've got HP TX2000 fingerprint unlock. So maybe it is detected? Use longer stroke when scanning your fingerprint, huh? All right, let me try my pointer. Okay, so that one worked, and that's how it's supposed to look when it does work. This is incredibly slow. I might have to, I actually do have an SSD here. I was planning on using it for another project, but I've got a spare SSD. I might stick it in here, depending on if I need it for that other project or not, because that was way too long to wait for the Windows screen to come up. Yeah, if we take a look here, yeah, TrueSuite, this was definitely not the brand that I was used to for the fingerprint reader. We'll see the original stuff when I load it all on here. But let's open up Device Manager, and let's also open up this PC, and let's get our properties. Here we go. They used to call it My Computer in older versions of Windows, then they changed it to Computer for Vista and 7, and then it's this PC in Windows 10. So this computer is also an AMD Turion X2. This one's a TL58. This is 1.9 gigahertz, so this is even slower than the other one. I think my laptop was 2.1. The unit from Greece was 2.0, as we just saw, and then this one is 1.9 gigahertz. We do still have that standard 3 gigabytes of RAM. Oh, and interestingly, this one is called HP Pavilion TX2000. Yeah, let me take a look. Oh, no. If we take a look at the... Let me close this. We'll see if it goes to sleep. Yes, it does go to sleep. So if I flip the laptop over for just a second, Okay, so the sticker on this one does just say HP Pavilion TX2000. So this is an earlier revision than the unit from Greece, even though the unit from Greece does not have the fingerprint reader. Its sticker at least said 2500. And like I said, that's not the most specific model number available, but that does indicate that this is an older machine, along with the specifications. That is so cool. The fingerprint reader is never something I got working on Linux, but I did use it when I was on Windows. But this is just, I mean, this is too many seconds waiting. Okay. And this looks like a fairly stock install of Windows 7. You know, obviously we've got EaseUS and Google Chrome and Adobe Reader on here, but we do not have all of HP's bloatware, so it is going to go even slower once we restore it to factory condition. I am just going to take a quick look. If we go back to computer, we just have the OS partition. Okay, so we do have a 230 gigabyte hard drive that I suspect is what this thing shipped with. If we take a look at disk drives, ST, yeah, so Seagate, it's a Seagate drive. I would assume that's what shipped with this thing. But the OS recovery partition either was not a feature yet in the 2000 series, or it has been deleted since the machine was shipped, which is understandable. If we look under display adapters, you can see we do have the NVIDIA GeForce Go 6150 graphics chipset. So it is older, but it is NVIDIA. Oh, look in here. I've got Digital Persona Personal open. This is the fingerprints. Okay, this is the fingerprint software that I'm used to. So they installed 2 versions of the fingerprint software, or 2 brands of fingerprint software for me. Unless, is this not for the fingerprint reader? No, this... Okay, so Digital Persona wasn't just to use the fingerprint reader. It was also sort of software that would let you swipe your fingerprint to input your passwords on websites and stuff. It only worked well with Internet Explorer. It didn't really have a Chrome or Firefox plugin, so I never really used that. Oh, here we go. My identity, fingerprints. Okay, so this is what I'm used to. This is the interface that I'm used to. If we click here, the fingerprint reader is not connected. Connect the reader. Interesting. It almost seems like the seller tried to install Digital Persona since that's what came with the laptop. It didn't detect the fingerprint sensor for some reason, and then they installed a third-party program that does detect the fingerprint sensor. So clearly the hardware is at least semi-okay. The other possibility is that the other software, the third-party software, it has taken control of the fingerprint reader and locked it, and so Digital Persona can't see it. I'm not going to worry about that too much for right now. I am going to go ahead and try and find my Vista installation media. Now, a lot of my CDs and DVDs are still in St. Louis, and I'm here in Denver right now. The holidays were in the middle of the week, 2 weeks in a row, so I didn't really have time to drive all the way back to St. Louis just to get some CDs and stuff. So I may need to run to Best Buy so I can get some more DVDs. I've got blank CDs here, and I do have one spindle of discs here, as you can see. On the top, I've got something that I wasn't sure what it was when I made it, but I thought it might have been Manjaro possibly. I have no clue why I would have written a question mark on a CD. Like, I must have just burned it. Why would I not be sure what's on there? But yeah, this is a spindle. Oh, here we go. You can see this was a test disc for LightScribe. So this is what the laser etch stuff looks like. Obviously, this design is not working. This is not a final design, but I was using this to test the brightness and the quality of laser etching. Actually, years after I had these laptops. And that's the problem. This spindle is too new. So the discs on this spindle are not going to include my Vista installation discs. I actually have like a 32 disc CD set that was just to restore my particular laptop, but I don't think that would work on these laptops since they are not the exact same model, so the drivers aren't going to be the same. But yeah, basically we've got 2 cool laptops. This one actually came charged and 83% remaining. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm going to stop the camera for now since I am burning storage space right now. I'm going to let you guys know when I've got some media so we can play with this thing.